It's Sam from the HHG shop here. Coming to you on a beautiful Thursday. And I was just sitting here listening to some awesome jazz stuff on Spotify, scraping glue off these hoops. And I was like, this is tedious as fuck and very boring. So perhaps I'll go talk to the internet and see if anybody out there wants to come hang out with me. Because I got a lot of glue to scrape off on these hoops. I'm going to be here for probably another 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. Hello, one person, two people that have just joined. Whoever you are, could you give me an AV check? Can you hear me? Can you see me? I hope the answer is yes. So the setup today, talking cameras, is literally as low tech as I could get it. This was a spur of the moment decision, and I have my phone propped up against a chunk of oak sitting on my workbench. And that's it. That's just it. I'm not going any harder than that today. Don't feel like it. Brett, good morning, man. How are you doing? I hope your day is going well. Mine could be a little better, but I hope yours is good. Oh, can barely hear me. 1 second, guys. Hold on a second. Let me fix that for you. About that. That's probably better. Probably some goodness. How's that? A little bit better? Maybe I'll turn the Bluetooth off. That's probably what's up. How about that? Audio output, speakerphone? Maybe? Let's try that. No? Ah, there we go. I think we're good. Okay. Better. Gooder. I think we're gooder. I should really figure out a way to test this live stream stuff before I jump out here. Brett says, well, mine's well and truly over here and wait, Brett, what's it? Oh, Oz? Where is that? New Zealand? Where are you at there, Brett? Where are you coming to us from, my friend? Oh. So this is a not fun process, but it's a necessary evil. Got to scrape the glue off these hoops after they get all machined and beautiful. Australia, fantastic. We're on several continents. So this is what I'm working on today. I've been making wood drum hoops for several years now, and oh, good. The audio's back. All right, cool. I had to change some shit there. Let me take these out. I don't need these anymore. Oh yes, the aluminum. Brett, thank you. I appreciate that. So Brett, let me tell you some things about your aluminum snare. I thought about the sanding table. See, here's the problem. This glue that I'm scraping off, it's hot glue. It's used for temporary work holding while these hoops are getting machined. And it leaves, this is what they look like when they come off. I don't know if you can see this. See the little glue nasties on the bottom there? You got to scrape those off. And then, because I could sand this, but hot glue, because it's hot glue, it's a high temperature glue that melts. And it's, so if you put it, I have a big drum sander machine that I could send these through, and it would all it would do is it'd get this glue hot and then stick to the sandpaper. So what I usually do is spend a little bit of time with one of my favorite Japanese chisels. Picked these up several years ago used. They're very, very nice. Oh, sorry, Brett, the aluminium. I'm gonna get to that in a sec. I was just bullshitting about glue. But yeah, so you gotta scrape the majority of this glue off first, and then run it through the sander. Because once you get the majority of it off, the sander can handle just like a little bit of residue. But the big chunks of glue have to come off first. I actually, many of you may or may not know this, I don't do this full time. I fix power lines for a living. This is a weapon. It's very sharp. I have right here my homemade leather strop and some green polishing compound. First thing, yeah, heat gun. I've tried the heat gun before. It's more fucking around than it's worth. ENZ Print Co. I've tried that, but what ends up happening is by the time you get the heat gun out and melt all this shit, if you have a nice sharp chisel, it'll just knock it right off nice and clean. But then the heat gun remelts the glue, and then it becomes more liquid and it kind of gets stuck in the pores, which is less than optimal. Brett, aluminium. Let me that's a weapon. Let me tell you, so I'm very excited. So I got those moving along, but I came up with a new design. It's a very small change. Everything on your snare drum is staying the same except for one little detail that I'm pumped about. I figured out a way to eliminate. Usually, I use like a die-cast air vent. It's just like a little thing you screw in there, and it puts an air vent into the drum shell, and that's cool and that's good. But the way I make my shells, I start with my metal shells. Is I start with a piece of flat aluminum, and then I cut it and shape it, and then I roll it and weld it, and it's a bunch of work. But the fact that it's flat before it's round gives me the opportunity to do things to that flat piece of metal. And rather than using one of my standard air vents, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could, instead of having an air vent that just a stock one, what if I cut the logo, the HHG logo, out of the aluminum and then let that act as the air vent? So that is what I'm doing on your aluminium snare drum, Mr. Brett. And it'll be the first one that I've ever done like that. It'll be going to you, and I'm excited about it because it's just I'm a complete nerd about manufacturing. Like that's what this is, right? It's a manufacturing business, and whenever I come up across like some new little cool addition to the game that is building things like that, like eliminating a stock air vent and putting a logo in instead to act as the air vent, I'm like, that's exactly what you said, Brett. That is fucking cool, and I'm excited about it. It should be really cool. Spent a bunch of time in CAD thinking about it and designing it and looking at it and changing the size, but now I think I got it all chooched up, and as soon as my aluminum shows up, I'll get it underway. As you may or may not know, the world's kind of fucky right now. Supply chains are still crazy. I'm excited too, and you can call it aluminum all you want. Thanks. I got the official Australian permission from the owner of his new aluminium. I'm sticking with aluminium from now on. Is it just us dumbass Americans that say aluminum, or is it aluminium everywhere? I don't know. The key with this glue scraping, not that anybody cares, but I'm going to tell you, is an incredibly sharp chisel. This goes pretty well if your chisel is very, very sharp. And that strop that I showed you a couple of minutes ago, that's the key. I don't like getting out my whetstones and sharpening my chisels every time I need to use them for something. So I try not to run my chisels into any metal, first off, or drop them a lot. So they're always pretty sharp. But then right before use, the key is a little bit of leather strop, a little bit of green polishing compound. It's just you guys. Yeah, we're not great over here. We're not doing a lot of things right over here, Brett. Sorry. Aluminium is the least of our worries, but that's one amongst many things. You know how you guys spell color with a U? You know why that is the case? I just found this out the other day. The reason there's like random U's and shit, that's the right way to spell it, with a U. Back in the day when like printing presses were a thing, it would cost money to print newspapers like based on like a per letter basis, because they had to individually set every one of those movable types to print the shit. So they started abbreviating the reason E&Z Print Co. that we shortened everything is because of our great friend capitalism. To make it a little bit cheaper to print a newspaper, back in the day, they were like, well, hey, if we remove the U from color, it'll cost one less I don't know, penny or fraction of a cent, but you can still read the word color, but it's not spelled correctly, but it'll save us money. Hey, we have a platypus. Yeah, platypus is pretty fucked up. Don't they have like? Do platypuses have some kind of poisonous barb, or am I just making that up? You guys have a lot of weird indigenous shit down there, man. I do not envy you. What's the? Isn't there some kind of bird that's really bad that'll like attack you in the spring? I always see it on Reddit. People talking about there's like some big black bird that'll fuck you up. Like if you're riding your bike, it'll swoop down and attack you or something. Not to mention spiders. Got a lot of spiders down there, man. Okay, we got a clean hoop. All the glue scraped off. Magpie, that's it. I've seen those things. Seen those on Reddit. They look terrifying. Well, we have mass shootings, so I. But this hoop, like I said, I've been working on making these wooden hoops for several years, and the design has changed. And I think I'm at my final form here. I think this is it. Like power over 9,000. All your base are belong to us. No change from here on out. I think. Getting a phone call. Gonna decline that right quick. Yeah, just I made some simple changes to this. I used to make these. You can see there's a little bump out here where the lugs are, and I used to make this a sharp 90, and it was a real bitch to sand after the fact. And so I went back to the books a little bit and kind of like followed some design to manufacture techniques. Like let's change the design so it's easier to make. And so I rounded those over. So now they can be sanded really easily on a spindle sander. And then I also did this really awesome like fillet here, where it's just a 3/4 round fillet. Thanks, that's true. I'll take yeah, any day. Thank you, Kevin. What's up, Kevin? How are you doing this morning, man? I like the rounded look a lot. Grumpy Kitten, what's up, brother, man? Thank you. This jacket was provided to me by my Hey, John Welch is here too. Grumpy Kitten and John Welch. We're having a good day. So this one is made out of a wood that has many names: Ovancol, Shadua, Mozambique. It gets used. It's a really cool wood. It gets used a lot in naval, like shipbuilding and whatnot, because it's very water resistant, incredibly hard. And I had a client come to me recently and be like, "Hey, I have this snare drum from some other company that's made from Shadua, Ovancol, Mozambique. Pick your choice there. And I wanted to get a set of wood hoops made. And I guess there's not a lot of people making wood hoops out there in the world, so I ended up making these awesome hoops. John, let me read your comment here. John Welch says, I got the copper snare at the Delaware Drum Show, swapping the throw to a trick, using the existing top hole, shell, bottom hole, and the throw is not having any problems staying in place. One screw is all good. I couldn't bring myself to add another hole. That's John. I am glad to hear that worked out with the swap. For anybody that doesn't know what John's talking about, we were at the Delaware Drum Show a couple of months ago, and John was kind enough to purchase a really awesome copper snare drum from us while we were there. And he changed out the strainer to a trick strainer because trick strainers are dope. And it sounds like, if I'm reading that correctly, John, everything went pretty well on the change out. Oh, wow, this is so much easier. So this is Ovancol, this is oak. And just holding these in my hands, like it's incredible how much heavier this is than that. But also because it's such a hard wood, it seems like the glue scrapes off a lot easier, which is super nice. What's one wood you'd love to make a drum out of but haven't yet? Fuck. That's a good question. I've made drums out of like all the woods. I gotta think about that. That's a good question, Grumpy. God damn. You kind of got me on that one. I'll come back to you, Grumpy. That's a really good question because there's just a fantastic amount of wood species out there in the world. And in all honesty, I've gotten the opportunity to build drums with more of them than I think I deserve to. Because I've been lucky. I've had some really great clients. Me and Kevin have had people come to us with just the most wild requests for wood species. I just made one out of Japanese plum wood. Natalie Wood. Da-da, that's funny. What? Wait, what wood is the hoop made out of? Yeah, it's Ovankol. Ovangkol, but it's also called Shedua. Shedua. Also sometimes called Mozambique. Willow. Yeah, willow sucks, Kevin. It's generally very very soft and also very fibrous. Like never really gets used for much in the world of woodworking because it's so soft. Usually just gets, it's not even good for firewood from what I've been told. Which is interesting because Kevin's gonna be the only person that knows this because he lives in Altoona. But if you're on 22 headed to Huntington, the right about when you pass like the back entrance to a town called Williamsburg, Kevin, there's a pull off, and at that pull off, there's a big willow tree. And the willow tree, when I moved here, I saw that and I was like, "Good Lord, look at the burl on that!" Because the entire tree is just filled with burls, and burl's pretty cool all the time for always. And then I was immediately like, I want to make something out of that tree and all of those burls. Did a little bit of research, and then I was quickly disappointed to find out that willow is pretty useless. Yeah, man, you really got me chooching on this wood thing. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Kevin, I'm glad you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I figured you would know what I was talking about. So ENZ Printco, where did I get this Mozambique Shedua Ovankol, this weird wood species that I'm working with? I've been building drums for a long time, and at this point, I've got like a network of wood dealers, and I don't ever give away my specific sources because it's taken me a long time to find all of them. But needless to say, whenever any one weird ass wood makes its way to the build queue, I know exactly who to call. I've got several people. What about Japanese maple trees? I'm going to take a guess and say, Grumpy, that Japanese maple and North American maple are probably not that much different. They're probably in the similar, like, in my experience, silver maple, red maple, there's tons of different species of maple just in Pennsylvania alone. At the end of the day, they all look pretty similar, unless you get something like figured, that, you know, like a bird's eye or a curly or a quilted or a mottled or something like that. Those look different, but those are still, none of those are different species. Those are just kind of like things that happen naturally inside a normal maple tree, usually soft maple, to make it look a little bit prettier. But yeah, I would imagine Japanese maple is probably very similar to anything we could get here. Oh, there, I got one. Okay, how about this? I got wood dealers. Yeah, I got some wood dealers. That's a good idea, Kevin. You could do that. You could absolutely stabilize the willow and do something with it. I've been looking. Kevin, as you know, I've been looking for an excuse to buy a pressure pot. Or maybe you don't. Maybe I didn't mention that. But yeah, I would love to buy a vacuum chamber so I could start stabilizing my own wood. That would be super cool. Because stabilized wood is the bee's knees. That's one that I got two for you, Grumpy. Two wood species. So stabilized wood. That's not really a species so much as a thing that's been done to whatever given species of cool wood you would like to use. But I have some shit in the works. Bales, what's up, brother? Good to hear from you, man. Okay, there we go. We got one Shedua, Ovankol, whatever you want to call it, hoop, all wrapped up. I'm in love with this new design. It's simple as shit, but it's very nice. It's very clean. It's got a good it's not my big complaint with wood hoops is always when they just look too chunky. Like I always see those like Yamaha hoops, and I'm just like, man, that just looks like a trash can. It's just like this big. You can make. I think you can make. I mean, I've done it enough times to know that you can make a wood hoop that isn't
overly bulky, but is still strong enough to withstand, the test of time and lots of playing. Sam is meeting shady guys in the back. Like, yo, man, you got the fucking hookup on that oak? Come on, meet me in my car. Oh, yeah, and just like handshake $20 bills for a billet of maple. But yeah, Grumpy, so stabilized wood, that's something I'd like to do. Not so much a great answer to your question because it's not a species. It's just it's a process that gets done to wood. But it's like I said, I actually have I have that going as a back burner project. So I will be doing that sometime in the next year or so. But I did think of one. I'm thinking apple wood. I've never made something with apple wood, and or olive wood. Olive wood's really expensive. I think it only comes from somewhere over in the Mediterranean. No, I think they grow it in California too. And I'm not sure if it's specifically like the wood that comes from like the fruiting olive trees or not, but they make a lot of cooking implements out of it, and it's always just this really beautiful like yellow with black swirls. Never made anything out of that. Apple wood can be boring as shit, but it can also be incredibly beautiful. And again, when I say that, I'm not 100% sure if I'm being apocryphal in saying that it's the type of like apple tree that you would think of where there's apples growing on it. Because sometimes wood species are fucking tricky like that. Apple wood or olive wood. Yeah, I think those would be dope. ENZ Printco, hardest wood to work with. Kevin will agree with me when I say Wenge. I hate it with a burning fucking passion. It's a beautiful wood species. It comes from the west coast of Africa, or I guess west coast and southern tip of Africa, and it's like a very dark wood species. It's like nearly black. Before you finish it, it's like a chocolatey brown, and then when you put some finish on it, it turns almost jet black. But it's not that it's hard to work with. It's just really fibrous, and I've never touched a piece of Wenge and not gotten a splinter. So that's not my favorite wood species in the world to work with. Also, Lignum vitae. I've built a couple of snare drums out of that. That kind of sucks to work with because it's just really oily, and like it's the second hardest wood species on the planet, and it's hard to deal with, man. It's hard to make it do what you want it to do. I want to get you the real deal Tasmanian Blackheart. Yes, Brett. That's been high on my list. Now here, I was gonna actually mention some like Silky Oak or some what's the one that everybody always uses? The red shit. Fuck, it slips my name. Slips my mind, but there's several Australian wood species that I would love to try. But what I've found over time is it's incredibly hard with even my network of wood dealers, which is pretty extensive. It's very difficult to get Australian wood species in the United States. Because, yeah, that Blackheart Sassafras, man, whoo, shit is beautiful. That was the timber the first 50 or so Australian timber kits were made from, that drum maker. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's so funny. The drum company that shall not be named that rhymes with BW. I feel like John Good just wants to take vacations to places, and then he's like, "Wait a minute, could this be a business trip? What if I stop at a lumber store while I'm there?" And he's like, "All right, cool. I'm going to Australia for vacation, but like I'm gonna buy some wood while I'm there, and then it's official DW drum business, and I'm gonna write this shit off." I mean, that's what I would do. I can put you onto the right guy. That would be cool, man. Yes, it's Easy Print Code. There's like not a lot of people that are aware of what the Janka wood hardness scale is. You were one of them. I am one of them. And fucking Lignum vitae, man. Like I said, second hardest wood in the world. I remember when I first made a snare drum out of it, I incorrectly told the internet that it was the hardest wood in the world, and I got quickly corrected that there's some other wood species that's a little bit harder. But I mean, it's like working with aluminum. It's so hard. It's so strange. It's the strangest. It doesn't even, like, when you touch it, it doesn't even feel like wood. It feels like metal. It's just so smooth and tight and like tons of oil in it, so it's like difficult to glue and work with, but it can be done. how's it going rebuilding the new shop? As well as can be expected given these circumstances. So, for the new shop, basically, I haven't I've been there 2 times since December 8th when that fire happened, and one time was to just board up all of the garage doors that got destroyed, or the one garage door that got destroyed, and the second time was just to like grab some tools. And basically, where I'm at with the new shop is it's going to cost tons and tons of money to replace the garage doors, replace some of the electrical that got damaged, and also I'm in the process of paying off the new windows for the shop. Those were incredibly expensive. You could buy like a really nice brand new pickup truck for the price of putting new windows in that building. Good news was the windows weren't in when the fire happened, so I'm just like, they're sitting at the glass shop ready to install, waiting for me to be like, yeah, the place is fixed up, come on down. So what I've been doing is we're swamped with orders. Like me and Kevin have got so many orders on the books for drums and drum sets. Yeah, the insurance was less than helpful, Grumpy. Basically, what happened was I had the building insured as a vacant building, which it was because this is the drum shop, and that was the new drum shop. And at the time, it was vacant. Like I hadn't moved in. I was just working on it, and I could have, in the talks with my insurance agent, like we could have claimed everything. We could have got some money for some replacement of some of the things and get some of the things fixed. But then the premium increases over time would have been so high that it actually made a whole lot more sense to just kind of eat it and do it out of pocket. Because the building wasn't destroyed. It was like the building didn't catch on fire. Just like a pile of things inside the building caught on fire. Basically, all of my construction type tools, bunch of battery tools and like a garbage can and a bunch of plastic toolboxes and shit. So the building didn't really catch fire, basically. So the inside of the building is just like smoke damaged and heat damaged. Some of the electrical, like I had finished all the lighting, which was very depressing because all the lighting was on the ceiling, all the heat was on the ceiling, and it melted all of my electrical wiring that took me 2 months to do, and all of my $3,000 worth of brand new high bay LED lights that all need fucking replaced. But to answer your question, it's going as well as can be expected. I'm not putting any time into that at the moment because it just doesn't make sense yet as far as like money, basically, because it's just going to take a shitload of money to fix that place. And what I'm shooting for is by the end of the summer, I think at the end of July, one of my 2 garage doors will be in. And then once the garage door is in, then I can get in there because right now there's no operable door to get in whatsoever. So once the garage door goes in July, then I'll go down there. The inside's going to need pressure washed. And then after it's pressure washed, then I can start back in replacing the electrical. And then as soon as I get some of the electrical put back in and I have one garage door in, the windows can come get put in. And then hopefully by fall, I should be back to where I was at the beginning of December. That's kind of where we're at with it. And it's at the time, it doesn't like I could go down there and I could be pressure washing it right now or like working on, electrical down there or whatever. But like I said, we got a lot of orders and I need to focus on finishing all of these orders, getting drums out to clients. Because, first and foremost, nobody wants to wait for their drums, but, it's also kind of like one problem solves the other. If I spend time finishing orders, I'll get paid for those orders. And then that money that I get paid will be the money that I need to reinvest in the building and get things fixed up down there. Whew. That was a lot of words. Yeah, man, ENZ Printco, it was very unfortunate. Yeah, man, that's in Grumpy, like you said. I'm glad I got a lot of orders too. That's the problem I want to have. It's like it's all of the money that I make building drums for the last like year and probably the next 2 years is just going to go directly into that building. Because that building, I mean, I got it for a good price, but the reason I got it for a good price was because it was fucked up. Like it was nearly abandoned, so it needs everything. Like I spent 9 months gutting it before I started doing any type of construction. It was all destruction. I just spent like I bought a big dump trailer and just spent a bunch of time we ripped out there was like walls and false ceilings and we ripped out everything. We took it from a big brick building that had like little rooms and closets and bullshit everywhere to a warehouse, which took 9 months just to do the demo. And the good thing was, I'm glad that we did that demo and then had a fire, because had the fire happened before the demo, the place would have burnt to the ground, because it's a big brick rectangle, 110 feet long, 30 feet wide, and it was filled with, little tiny rooms, like 6 foot by 4 foot, 10 by 10, 2 by 4s, wood everywhere. And Nathan, thank you, appreciate that. ENZ is my last name. Oh, Jason. Okay, that helps actually. I'll call you Jason, not ENZ Prinko. Jason ends. But yeah, the building would have burned to the ground had we not done the demo first, because what happened was a lithium-ion battery exploded, caught a bunch of I had all my tools grouped together. They caught on fire, but had all of the false walls and ceilings and 2x4s and wood and all the shit been in there, it would have gone up like a tinderbox. But because it was just a big brick warehouse and all my tools were just grouped together in a little 10 by 10 area, they all caught on fire and just burnt in that spot. And then that was it. But the unfortunate thing, when you burn, 400 pounds of plastic inside of a warehouse, that warehouse gets pretty gross and hot. So did you reclaim any of the wood you tore out? Yes, I did. I have like a couple of pieces. We probably tore out 60,000 pounds of interior walls and ceilings out of there. So I couldn't, my inner wood hoarder had to be put on pause because I couldn't save it all. There was just so much, like hundreds and hundreds of 2x4s and all kinds of shit. But I saved there were some big beams that were original to the building that I did save. And at some point, I will resaw those bitches and make a couple of snare drums. But it's going to be a hot minute, because right now I'm just pretty much, I'm stuck on, I'm not entertaining the idea of building any drums that I want to build. I'm just building drums that people have ordered, because that's all I got time for. I got to get off this live stream and go do some productive shit, because as you can see, I'm done scraping my hoops, and I told myself I would get on here while I was scraping hoops. So I appreciate all of you stopping by. Let's do this again sometime. I'm going to go ahead and jump off. Bye. This always takes me a minute. Here's this embarrassing minute of me trying to figure out how to end the live stream. How do you do this? End stream. Okay.